All right, you guys, it's time to talk about games that have been literally eating at me, haunting me. I cannot stop thinking about how in these games I have never beaten the main storyline. Probably restarted them multiple times, gotten really invested in the story, and yet I couldn't finish it. Very first on my list is Grand Theft Auto, and I'm talking about the series in its entirety. I actually started with Grand Theft Auto 3, which I believe was released in like 2001, which definitely gave me enough time to go through one of the storylines in the game. I would say I spent most of my time in Grand Theft Auto doing what I would assume most people did, which was just causing mayhem. Going all over the place trying to get like the highest stars that you could get possible, and just screwing around. Like doing little side stuff, you know, picking up people who may not be doing the most credible work, but you know, just screwing around. And that's what I did most of the time. And so I was never really focused in on the main story of Grand Theft Auto. I would say that the storylines are interesting enough. I mean, I'm restarting Grand Theft Auto 5 right now, and it's got some moments where it's, you know, really captivating, and then other times it's kind of funny. And so, like, things like where at the very beginning, the tech Mongol, you basically rig his phone and it blows his head off. I mean, that's a very Grand Theft Auto-esque. But the stories are interesting enough, so I don't know why I've never made it through any of them. I've heard that Grand Theft Auto, I think it was 4, that was the most interesting of them all, and I do own it for the Xbox 360, I just haven't played it yet. The level design I can't really blame for either. I mean, there's the helicopter level in Vice City, which was really a pain in the ass to do, and then there was the Follow the Train one in San Andreas, but again, I don't think there were that many levels like that to deter you from doing the main thing, so Grand Theft Auto is one of those ones that I heavily regret I haven't beaten at least one of the storylines, and it constantly is nagging at me. A couple of fun facts for you. Grand Theft Auto 5 has already sold over 200 million copies. Now that shouldn't be surprising since it's over multiple platforms. In GTA 5, there's a character named Franklin, and apparently that voice actor is the cousin of the guy who plays CJ in San Andreas. You know, some of the things I like in Grand Theft Auto is you can, like, up your stats. You go to the gym and you work out. You drive well, you get better stats. You ride the bike, you get better, you know, things like that. It's a fairly interesting game. I just don't understand why I can't just, like, play through it. And so it's something that definitely has been eating at me.
Okay.
The next one on my list is Donkey Kong 64.
Here we go.
And I know not everybody's a fan of the Nintendo 64, but this game is something that I feel like I should have played all the way through with my love of the Donkey Kong Country trilogy minus the third one. This is a game that I feel like I should have beaten already, and I know that it's got an absurd amount of collectibles, but the game still has a lot of charm. Now in 2024, are the controls clunky? Yeah. Does it make it a little bit more difficult? Yeah. But it's a game that I really wish I had beaten all the way through, and I feel like I've gotten close a few times. I remember playing the old school, like, Donkey Kong arcade level, and I feel like that's not terribly far from the end, but this is a game I deeply feel like I need to beat. So this one's a little bit easier to pinpoint why I probably haven't beaten it, is it's got an absurd amount of collectibles, like I mentioned before. Another thing is that when you're trying to obtain those collectibles, if you find a particular color of banana, you have to have that particular monkey, but you can't just switch on the fly. You have to go find the barrel, switch to that monkey, go back, and go get it. And then again, like I already mentioned, in 2024, those 3D, like, platforming, they're pretty difficult. They're not as, you know, fine-tuned as they are now, and so it makes it a little harder to go back to that. And so those are the things that I think mostly have kept me from it. I remember specifically the beetle race being something that was extremely difficult for me. It took multiple tries and it was really frustrating. But again, that's the beauty of retro gaming, so I can't really point my finger at that. But this is a game where I really deeply feel like I should have beaten it, and it's something that really bothers me that I haven't yet. With a lot of the negative out of the way, I truly do enjoy the game. I love the Donkey Kong rap at the beginning. I do like the level designs. I like the music. I like the vibe. I didn't have an N64 growing up back in 1999 when it was first released, but I did have some friends that owned it, and so it's kind of like a game that reminds me of that like couch co-op era, or the era at which you would like share the controller, each of you got like 30 minutes of gameplay. And I would say my nostalgia hits in the sense that it brings me back to those days, even though I didn't own an N64 until later on in life through a trade. I would also say it's got a good mix in like different challenges. Now, some of them are not always easy, but they're fun and unique. And upgrading the weapons and the musical items, you know, it keeps it pretty fresh. And so I would say the story is not like overly complicated, but being able to see some of your old, you know, favorite people like Cranky, but some new people like Tiny Kong, who's super excited to be out and about, whereas like other Kongs so much don't want to be played with. Another thing I'd like to say is a lot of people were blaming this game for the death of 3D platformers, and I would say that this game wasn't that. It actually got really good reviews back in the day. I mean, can you imagine being a parent of a kid in the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, and buying them a game that lasted so much longer than just a weekend? I mean, you got a lot of bang for your buck with this one. And like I said, the reviews did extremely well back then. It's only later on in the game's lifespan that people started hating on it. This next one I know I've mentioned a few times, but Dragon Age, it's one of those games where I feel like I got really far into it. I remember getting to a part where you basically had to make it to a big battle. So I don't know how close that was to the end. Maybe it was. I just didn't quite get there. But Dragon Age was my first experience into like heavy storytelling, leveling up, managing weapons, like so much more involved than something like Fable 2. And so I have a really soft spot for that game. And again, like I've said before, I like knights, I like dragons. And so this game was a perfect mix of introducing me to a game like that. And honestly, I remember stopping because I couldn't quite figure out where to go next. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't try that hard to figure it out, and I just kind of let it go. And it's really disappointing because I really want to see the ending of the game so I can move on to Dragon Age 2, because I'm somebody who likes to play the games in order. My problem with this title, and a lot like the others, is if I got so deep into a game, I spent a bunch of hours into it, and I was really close to getting to the end, replaying it is not as fun. And this is what's happening with me with Like a Dragon 2, where I'm experiencing the same storyline again, and it's just not as captivating because I've already experienced it. But I have to get through it because I don't have the original save file anymore. And that's extremely annoying because with Dragon Age, I was getting all the way to like the werewolf sub-story, and I felt no joy or fun because I've already done it. And it really sucks because I really want to finish these games, but experiencing them again, it's just not as fun, and it just feels like a chore. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even gonna try to say the first of it, but it ends with Happy Havoc, and I'll go ahead and put it in the screen right now. But this was my first experience with like a visual novel, and it was extremely captivating. Now, I'm not like a huge anime person, but I do enjoy anime from time to time, and so it was this awesome blend of really good storytelling with this visual novel, like anime style, and I really enjoyed it. And it's got, if you've never played these games, this like psychotic bear that like traps you in a school, and in order to get out, you have to murder somebody, but get away with it. And essentially, at the end of every chapter or whatever it is, you end up in like a courtroom where you have to figure out who the killer was, because every so often somebody dies. And you spend a lot of time like investigating the clues to figure out who did it, and at the end making your choice. Now, if you guess wrong, everyone else dies. And it turns out that they made an anime based off of this game, and I wanted to start watching it, but I didn't want it to ruin the game. And a big reason I think I stopped playing the game is because it required, surprise, a lot of reading. It's a visual novel, that's what it is. But I was playing it through, I think, the Steam Link at the time, and I don't know what it was, but just kind of trying to read it. Oh, it's a very text-intensive game. I wish it had voice acting. That would have made it like unbelievably like 10 out of 10 for me, but it didn't. And that's a real bummer. If the newer ones have that, let me know, because maybe I'll jump ship on this one and go to the others. And last on my list, and I don't think it should be a surprise, is Donkey Kong Country 3. I think it was the weakest entry in the trilogy, with 2 being the best, then 1, and then 3, I guess, because it's there. I feel like I'm missing out on something. I have played the beginning of it a few times. I've never played completely through it. And as a hardcore, like, Donkey Kong Country fan, growing up with the first one being my most nostalgic, second one being like a cream of the crop on my top 10, I've never played through Country 3. And maybe it has to do with the characters. Now, I love Dixie Kong, don't get me wrong. But the little baby Kong, I'm just really not into it. The level design is so different, and I understand I believe it was a different team working on this one. The music's okay. The opening level is sad. When you're getting the best of the best with Donkey Kong Country 2, anything after that is going to be a really hard follow, and that's nobody's fault. But I cannot get myself to play through this game. And it's something I want to beat through so I can be like, hey, I beat the Donkey Kong trilogy. I can talk about it from every aspect because I have played them all as much as I possibly could. I've replayed 1 and 2 so many times, and yet I cannot make myself get through 3. So if you guys are somebody who believes that the Donkey Kong Country 3 is a really good game, please tell me why. Tell me what I'm missing. If you agree, great. It's just, I wish that I was somebody who could say I've beaten all 3, and maybe one of these days I'll sit down. It's just I hate playing games that make me feel like it's a chore, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of the hobby. We play video games to have fun. We collect them because it brings us joy. And if something's not bringing us joy, why would we do it? So those are the games that are haunting me, tormenting me. I just can't get over the fact that I haven't beaten them. It bothers me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are there any games that are just completely driving you nuts that you haven't beaten and you just can't bring yourself to do it? Maybe for the same reasons, maybe for different reasons. But thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget, a pixelated world awaits.